right, I think we're ready.
No, thank you.
All right, call the meeting of the Norfolk School Committee to order for tonight, June 12th. As we start out every meeting, read the mission statement. Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. Roll call, please.
Jen Wynn.
Medora Champagne.
Jeff Curry. Paul Cochran.
Thomas Doyle.
Ingrid Lardy.
All right. Moving on, public comment. Moving on. Correspondence, and we do have one donation, and it is for a lot of stuff. Okay, so for a total of $4,914.02. Donation is broken down in the following manner. The NCL Charity Fund, donations of $400 and $850, which are NCL grants for both Freeman and HOD. Norfolk Donuts, Inc. Is $130 scholarship for the MCBA breakfast donation. Norfolk PTO, $1,976 for the Coin Wars fundraiser. That's a Freeman Kennedy one, so was the breakfast one, by the way. Lindsay Marcel is $20 for holiday caring and sharing, HOD. Norfolk PTO, and these four are all for HOD, are amounts of $596.50 for second grade whiteboard, $399 for OSMIS grant for kindergarten, and then one for first grade for $399 as well. And then finally, privacy screens of $143.52 for HOD, and for a total, again, of $4,914.02. Do we have a motion to accept those?
Make a motion to accept the gifts as stated.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, assuming no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so skipping on to my portion, we'll revisit last month's conversation regarding the KP representative / legislative liaison. The way we left it, we were going to explore the possibility of splitting the role. I spoke or followed up with Mike Gee over at the KP committee, and unfortunately, it's not something that can be split. They need one individual for it. That's not to say you have to attend every single meeting, but it's obviously the preference if you can get to those. So we're kind of back where we were last meeting. We are going to need one individual that can serve in that capacity as well. So we can talk
What
about
they also explained is that the elementary appointed rep is a full voting member of their committee.
Correct.
And they need representation from all three districts to have a quorum, so it's an important position. And the bylaws require it to be one individual, so they can't share it without going through all three town meetings to amend their bylaws.
So hearing those factoids.
I just know on a personal note, I don't think I could be there on a consistent basis because of family.
Sure.
Late.
What is the commitment again? Once monthly?
They meet twice monthly. Their superintendent indicated typically the elementary reps attend one meeting per month.
Okay.
And what's their schedule? Is
I
it,
think they're generally Monday nights.
Yes.
So it doesn't conflict with our schedule.
It
does
doesn't
not.
conflict with our schedule.
So is this just a matter of nominating someone who hasn't spoken up?
I'm
I
afraid
made
I'm in,
noise with the gavel, so.
I'm in a similar position that Jen is in. With the commitments I have to the other board in town and my job, which requires travel, I can't earmark any more weeknights, unfortunately.
three of us?
And I think that's where we left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just
30 some
now
odd
right
days
back to
ago.
where we are in May.
I think it's time for Rochambeau.
Which is why I think we wanted to explore sharing the responsibility.
I do think it's helpful to know that really the commitment, it sounds like, is really once per month. And
Yes.
That's what they
voting.
said has been the past practice, and that typically the elementary reps do not serve on their various subcommittees.
Okay.
So if we can we talk about a scenario, a potential scenario, where one of us decides to take on the responsibility and then deems it, it's too much, they're not able to attend, it's detrimental to both KP School Committee and the Norfolk School Committee. Do we just go through another vote to find someone else?
Yeah, I think
I
that's
would
fair.
say you could,
That's
as
fair.
long as they're appointed by this committee, they have the authority to act and be a voting member, but you could certainly resign that position and have somebody else appointed.
I know that I can't do it in the foreseeable few months due to commitments at work, which I've shared with you.
I don't know if they're meeting
I'm
summer-wise
thinking-
either. I think once you get into fall is
I'm
when the
thinking
need
into
is there.
October, but after October, my schedule should.
I mean, I think we could, if,
They have a new superintendent coming on board. I think if you can't make the September meeting,
So
it
be
would
it.
be reasonable.
yeah, I think we could tell them up front and say, look, here's what we have. I mean, everyone's got various commitments. I mean, we're already committed time to this committee, so here's what we can do. We can be there in October.
I think that would be reasonable.
I mean, for as long as we're telling them up front, I think that's
And I'll throw
kind of
my,
a larger
I'll throw my
concern.
hat in the ring.
Thank you. Yeah, see how it goes.
Thank you. I'll nominate Paul to be our representative.
That's an excellent suggestion, Jeff.
I second. Thank you, Paul.
Any further discussion regarding Paul? Just how nice of a guy he is overall or anything?
With respect to my role on the KP School Committee as a liaison.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so next thing we have is the BICO rep.
I can speak to that.
Yeah, as I say, that's something you usually sum up every year.
So BICO is the special education collaborative that we belong to in Norfolk, and the collaborative provides specialized programming for students that sometimes we can't provide services for through the district. As a member district, when we send students to collaborative placement, we get a significant discount on the tuition and transportation rates for that. The collaborative, we have 13 district members. It's basically all the area districts. And annually, the school committee is required to vote to appoint either the superintendent or a committee member to serve on the BICO Board of Directors. BICO meets on Thursdays at 11:30. Currently, it's all superintendents that are serving. I was the chair of the board for BICO last year. I'm happy to continue serving on the board if the committee would like me to, unless there's somebody that's interested in representing the district at BICO.
I nominate Ingrid Alardi to serve as a BICO representative for Norfolk
All right,
School
do you have a second
Committee.
on that?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, hold a second. And then lastly, for my portion, every year we have to do superintendent evaluation of Ingrid. It's a public record that's released once it's all completed, and then we go over it in a meeting, everything. We need to work on the timeline and the specific process for that. Last year, if memory serves correct, I think it was Paul and then Mark Flaherty that worked with me on that, and then went through and filled out the document. So we need to see who would like to be involved in that process this year. Essentially, what we've done the last few years is sort of, because with open meeting law violation, we can't just, obviously, as a quorum, meet. Individually, people complete various sections of it, it's sent to me, I do my section, and then we kind of all, then I will present it as one unified document. That has worked for the most part. I'm open to other suggestions if someone else has another idea.
And I think last year we opened it to the full committee to provide you feedback instead of doing a subcommittee, so that we didn't have a
What did we do
student
a subcommittee last year? I thought it was,
We opened it to everybody. I
okay.
don't know if everybody gave you feedback, but everybody had the opportunity to send you
Okay.
feedback, and then you summarize for the.
Makes no difference to me, whatever people want to do. So we've got so the idea is by, let's just say, August 1st, start gathering some of the documentation together with the time frame of presenting it by the September meeting. So would anyone, I guess if we go with the same process, everyone could provide?
Yeah, because otherwise we have to have only 2 people, including you, on the
Right.
subcommittee. So most districts just send it out, you respond just to the chair, and the chair summarizes the feedback.
So we'll just do that process again. So I will get the information, you'll have the, Pam has gathered that the last few years for me. I'll send it out for everyone, so if everybody just kind of make a mental note that by August 1st, roughly, or close to that as you can, get that together, and then I will get that all summarized and ready to present by the September meeting, which then we would then go over in a public setting, we have a discussion on all that. Any further questions on that? It's fairly straightforward. The form itself, Jen, maybe you're going to be more familiar with it coming from your world, is bizarre to me.
The state created
It is
It's not as efficient.
It is the silliest thing I've ever seen in the world, but I don't say that as a criticism of your world. It's just fascinating to me to look at as comparison to what I
just
see.
roll with the punches.
Yeah. So once you get past that, so maybe for the 4 of us, it'll be a little odd to look at it first, but you'll be very used to it, so. Any questions with that, or any other thoughts or suggestions? Okay. All right, that's it for me.
I only have a few things tonight. The first item on the agenda is the special education director's contract. So by the Mass General laws, the school committee is responsible for appointing certain positions, one of which is the special education director upon the recommendation of the superintendent. So it is my recommendation that the committee vote to reappoint Dr. Tupper to the role of special education director for the Norfolk schools. I think that she's done an excellent job filling her responsibilities, managing the special education budget and building strong programs in the district. I'm recommending that we enter into a 3-year employment contract, and my recommendation is that we keep the terms of the contract consistent with the teacher contract. So the increase in year 1 would be 2.5%, increase in year 2, 2.75%. Additionally, I'm looking to add 5 days to her contract. Most special ed directors are year-round positions. She's on a 198-day contract, but has a lot of summer responsibilities in terms of hiring, staffing, and overseeing the summer program. So I'm recommending we add an additional 5 days to the contract. So I'd be looking for a vote to approve the contract for Dr. Tupper.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the contract for Dr. Tupper.
We have a second on that?
Second?
Further discussion? I assume budget-wise,
Yep,
that's
we're all-
perfectly fine.
yep,
Okay,
we're
no
all
concerns
No,
with
I
that.
think it makes sense to add the 5 days, because I know in other districts that are larger, they actually have a separate person who does summer programming, because it's just so massive. So I think it's a real bargain to add the 5 days and not have to hire
We
someone.
do have
Good
the
point.
teachers that support the summer program.
Right.
But there's still administrative oversight in terms
Oh,
of.
to plan all the groups
and
and
things.
everything, and where, and location, it's huge.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
The second item I have is regarding SAC. So in the past, we have had a practice in the SAC program of trying to accommodate staff members who reside in Norfolk and whose children are in the Norfolk Public Schools in the after-school program. It really hasn't been problematic because we've always had space. The last couple of years, there's been an increased demand for SAC in the community, and this is the first time, last year and this year are the first time we've had a wait list. We don't have a wait list for every day, but we have a wait list for a couple of afternoons and for a couple of mornings. So we don't have a written policy. Again, it has been past practice that we've done the best that we can to accommodate staff. We have very few teachers actually in Norfolk who have children that reside in Norfolk who have children in the schools that access the SAC program. But we do have one staff member who's impacted by that. I'd like to ask the committee to consider establishing a practice of when there is a wait list, giving staff priority for the wait list position, primarily because it's important for teachers to be available after school, and they provide services and support to many, many students. So when there's a childcare need, that means the teacher has to leave right at the end of the day, and children are missing out. Our teachers go above and beyond. They are here a lot of extra hours for planning, and I think it's important that we try to accommodate that. So that's my request for the committee to consider.
Okay, so do we have a motion to establish, I guess, a practice to work to ensure that the staff are able to access the SAC program?
I'll make a motion to establish a policy or practice with respect to providing staff with a first come, first serve access to the program.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
As well.
I anticipated that.
You had said practice, I had torn in policy. Is the intent to have a policy on this?
Yeah, that's where I got caught up with.
Yes, it really would be, it really would be a policy that's established in the SAC staff handbook. So they would outline that it's a practice that staff would be given priority in a waitlist situation in their staff handbook. We don't have a school committee policy around the SAC program that we would expand.
Okay.
It would really just be a guideline that's published and that we give notice to families in the staff handbook, in their SAC handbook.
What's the definition of staff?
It would be teaching.
Faculty or administrative?
I would define it as teacher. It's really our teachers that are here before and after school providing services. The request was not necessarily for all of our assistants who generally work the contract hours.
Okay, so will that be defined in this guideline?
We could define it in the handbook,
I would think.
given to professional staff.
Yeah, I would recommend adding as much detail as possible that
Yeah.
this will create less confusion down the road for other people that are considering it.
Yep, we could define it as for professional staff, because those are the teachers that would have after-school obligations to students here. Our assistants work very hard, but they're done at the end of the workday, unless they're volunteering for a program or something like that. But I think it would be, as a starting point, best to make it, to limit it to professional staff.
I'm just curious, Ingrid, what after-school professional responsibilities would a teacher have aside from
Teachers serve on
planning?
curriculum committees. Sometimes they
Okay.
stay after to provide after-school help to
Well,
students.
that's, okay.
There's curriculum planning. A lot of
Okay.
time is spent,
Yep.
preparing for
Yep.
lessons.
So you couldn't realistically bring your child to class because you're making the lesson the next day. You're really,
Right, or
you're
you're working with a
working
small group of
professionally with a small,
students or-
right,
yeah.
you can't do that. Okay, and that makes sense.
Have we worked at all to find alternatives for those families that are being turned away?
We've done a couple of things. We've reached out to the Adirondack Club, and we will provide transportation for families that choose to access
Okay.
that. We have looked at and
And do we
worked to-
provide
we-
that information to those
Yep.
families? Okay, great.
And we have also looked at trying to expand the SAC program, and we have expanded, we've hired additional staff. We run into some difficulties in terms of available space and appropriate staffing. It's hard to fill some of those positions because they're very part-time. So we continue to look at ways to expand. But we have worked with the Adirondack Club. We also worked this year with the rec department, and we offered several morning classes between 7:30 and 8:30. We did a Lego club and an engineering on the days that we had the morning wait list. So
Great.
parents could sign up for a course that was run at the school.
Great,
So
okay.
we've tried to collaborate with different groups around that.
Okay, that's
It
great.
is going to be a need in Norfolk with the expanded development and building. We are pretty much the only show in town. There's not a lot of private centers, so we may have to reach out and continue to work with the community around a response to that, because I'm not sure the school down the road will be able to meet all of the need for childcare. It's definitely a challenge. But we are trying to work with rec. We offer after-school classes too, and we've tried to do that on the days there's a wait list, so we have options.
Yeah, it just feels more comfortable to be able to vote for this and know that there are alternatives available than not.
Fine.
So, great.
Yes, the one and only downside of SAC being such an excellent program
Yeah.
is that people
popular.
realize how good of a program it is
Yeah.
and take good advantage of it. Is this something, that assuming this vote goes forward and is positive, is this something that needs to be, I don't know, going with NTA, would need to work into the
The
CBA?
NTA was aware that we were bringing this issue to the
Okay.
committee today. Yeah, so.
Just putting you on the spot there. Make sure you're awake. Okay, good job. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The next item in the packet is really just an informational item at this point. As I mentioned, that we have had a couple of different independent groups do enrollment projection studies based on the pending Chapter 40B housing projects that are currently pending in the town. The enrollment projections are expecting over the next 5 years that we'll see an increase of up to 250 more students coming into the district. As I shared with the committee, we've been concerned about our ability to accommodate that kind of growth with the current facilities. We went to the fall town meeting, and the town did vote to appropriate $12,000 to, for us to have some preliminary design work and plans put together by Flansburgh Architects for an addition on the Freeman Kennedy wing. What you have in your packet is the first draft of the design plans. If you take a look at it, you can see basically the advantage of building on to the Freeman Kennedy is the entire building is meeting the current accessibility codes. So at HOD, if you were to try to do any construction, you'd have to bring the entire building up. The majority of the systems, so the plumbing, septic, electrical, are zoned or were developed to accommodate up to 700 students. So most of those have the capacity for addition. The addition plans, we had Flansburgh in, they met with our facilities staff, our preschool teachers, our office staff. We had a full-day retreat. They drafted the designs based on the needs that we see for that space. The first floor is basically intended to be an early childhood wing with therapeutic office space for the speech language OT and a conference meeting room. There's also 7 preschool classrooms and a multi-purpose inside play area, and also offices for our special ed administrative offices would move. The second floor has a proposal for 7 additional classrooms and moving the science lab that we have currently in the 5th grade wing over, which will open another classroom in the 5th grade wing, have a larger science makerspace. The other idea is with moving the Science Innovation Center up and attaching it to the makerspace, which you guys got to have a tour of, is that will free the makerspace up to be possibly an additional SAC space to accommodate some additional growth. At this stage, we are meeting with the preschool team and getting feedback from people on this first draft. There are some revisions and changes that we want to make. You can also see where they intend to locate. There's a aerial drawing. You can see where they tend to locate the playground. There would be some additional parking put in the back. Overall, we're happy with the design, but there are some things that we want to change and adjust. So Flansburgh is coming back on Monday, June 25th to meet with the admin team to get the feedback. We've met with the preschool team and everybody involved in the planning. We had feedback to share. They're going to revise their proposal. Once they get that back to us, they will cost out and get cost estimates. So the intent of the design work is not that it's a final plan. It was developed enough that we can actually get a cost estimate on what it would cost the town to undertake this building, because it will not be most likely reimbursable by MSBA. So that's where we are with the process. But I sent you the full plans and the vision so that you could take a look at it. I will send you the updated plans once we've had our meeting on the 25th and we get the revised plans. I will share them back with you and then share them with the town and the Space Study Committee. Any questions on where we are with that?
I had some questions about the plan. I'm curious. So I know this is proposed, but what is, looking at preliminary program for the additions under academic program timeout, is that a timeout space they're proposing?
Yep, a quiet space.
And then A nurse station, are you anticipating hiring another nurse, or
No,
is
we
it
are
just a
not.
medical first aid?
We are not. So it'll be a separate wing for the preschool. We
Okay.
have a building nurse.
Right,
But if they had to go down to see a child in the pre-K, it's
They'd have like a
going to
little-
be a very small spot where they
Okay.
could privately evaluate a
Okay.
student.
And-
But it won't be a full nurse's room.
Okay, just, and why is there a need, I'm just curious, for a washer and dryer in a shower area?
So, the shower area was a request from the town in the plans, because this is the emergency site. If there was a power outage across the town, it's an emergency shelter. And we have no capacity if people were here for multiple days
Gotcha.
to provide
Okay.
that. So that was a request
Okay.
of the town. If we do the addition, they wanted to see that.
Cold showers only.
And the greenhouse is just,
The what?
the greenhouse is just learning?
The greenhouse is basically just a design element. It's space between where the windows end. They were going to put a greenhouse because it's attached to the science lab.
Oh, okay,
So it's
great.
sort of an outdoor
Okay.
learning.
And the washer dryer is a similar answer with regard to the shower,
Yes, but we
presumably?
also, we wash all of our own mops and uniforms for
Oh, okay.
custodial staff
Yep. Okay.
currently.
Yep.
So,
Great.
part of that.
It's for the zombie apocalypse, Jeff.
I just wasn't sure if someone was planning on moving in, too. Kitchenette, washer,
gonna rent it out
dryer,
on
shower.
As part of the space
Oh, you
study,
live
we've
here,
been working with
basically.
the town, and they did have some requirements that, because it's an emergency shelter, they wanted us to sort of think through
Good idea.
what we could add at this time to make it a little bit more sustainable.
We do lose power in Norfolk.
No, weekly.
If anybody has any individual feedback or questions, feel free to share them. Again, these are just preliminary drafts. We have the pre-K team has some things that they'd like to see changed. We're going to make some adjustments, and then I'll bring you a more revised plan once we have that available.
Just to circle back with, this is based on the assumption of a certain number of potential students.
Yes,
What is that number again?
up to 250 across the sixth grade levels.
And you think that could be coming from how many of these development sites that are?
If they go through, all seven.
All seven.
That's projections if the.
Okay, so this is
But
kind of
the
a high
town
water mark,
has-
essentially?
The town has indicated that they don't, and you can jump in, you probably have more information, but that they're not at the safe harbor threshold, so they have limited capacity not to approve most of these projects. Is that accurate?
That's correct, and it's accurate. We're not at safe harbor yet, but we are in a position right now where there's a certain number pending before the board, so that's kind of a first come, first served scenario, but as soon as something gets approved through, the next person in line, next proposal in line comes up until we actually hit a safe harbor mark, so
Right.
it's.
And with all seven, you're not at safe harbor, if all seven currents
the
go
question I was
through.
gonna ask.
Correct, and I mean, there's a limited capacity to deny the
Right.
40B applications. There may be
So the
some,
assumption is the majority of these will happen.
there may be some ability to modify them slightly, but we're talking about incremental percentage
Right.
modification. So I would rest easier taking a high water assumption.
Well, that being said, there could
approach.
be an eighth or ninth one that could get to that high water mark, so is
Right,
there
it'd be-
some growth within this, if this isn't necessarily the high number?
Basically, where I was
There
going,
is some
what's next?
capacity. Basically, what this allows us to do, because we would be moving the preschool, it opens up about 7 classrooms at each holiday day, which if you estimate 20, about 20 students, it's about 140 there and 140 up here for 7 open classrooms. So it's it accommodates about another 280 students in this plan. The other possibility is you could repurpose some of the rooms. We could convert the science room into a classroom. You could look at the art room. But I think with the 14 additional classrooms, we should be good for quite some time. And it's the most affordable because it's one site that you're modifying that's
Right,
creating
as
space
opposed
in
to
both
two.
buildings. So that's what the space study looked at.
So they come back out on the 25th?
They're coming June 25th to meet with the team to get all the feedback from the various groups that have looked at the proposal. Then they'll make their revisions and send it back to us.
Do they have a date of when they would make those revisions and then send it back again? Is that something like end of summer type thing?
It should be a fairly quick turnaround. I think we'll get a revised plan probably mid-July. The hope is that we could send it out for pricing before the end of the summer. We definitely want some general pricing estimates before the fall town meeting, so that if the town wants to go forward with any additional requests, they have that information for fall town meeting.
just in looking at the designs, am I looking at this correctly? Would they relocate that playground to the
No,
back?
we would
This
put
is
in
adding
early
one, right?
childhood, a
Adding,
second playground.
okay.
That would be unique just to the pre-K and
Okay.
only used by the pre-K. So it would be really built for kids 3 to 5 years old.
Okay.
That's one of the design changes that we're going to request. So if you look at the plans, the playground's actually going to go, the staff liked option,
Oh, the near the wooded
B.
one better?
nope, they liked option A
Oh,
for the playground, so that it's here, so
Closer to
that
the
kids are
school.
not crossing the
You don't have
street
to
cross
to
the
get to
street.
the
Yeah,
playground.
that's great.
Okay.
They want a door put in down here so that
Okay.
there's an exit, so the kids aren't coming out here and walking all the way around.
Okay.
also I would think for
Oh, I
security
see
and
this. So there would also
Yes.
be
Makes more sense.
additional parking?
There will
back
be
there?
additional parking in the
Okay.
back, so they have to
Yep.
change. Basically, the back driveway would be swung out deeper into the woods
Okay.
than
Okay.
it is now.
Yep, great.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, then the last thing I have for you is the quarterly bullying report. As per our policy, I report to the school committee the number of reports we've had and the investigations we've conducted for bullying. At the H Olive Day of the last quarter, there were 3 discipline issues that were reported regarding bullying behavior. They were all fully investigated by administrators, and at the conclusion of the investigations, all 3 incidents were determined to be inappropriate behavior and conflicts between students, but none met the criteria for bullying. There was 1 investigation that was pending at the time of my last update. That was concluded, and that was determined to be a bullying situation. So appropriate actions have been taken, and steps were put in place to prevent future recurrences, and additional measures were taken to support the well-being of the student that was a target of that situation. At the Freeman Kennedy in the final quarter, there were no reports or investigations of bullying behavior.
I believe off memory, this is, the last quarter, we had a few incidents.
did.
So this is actually nice to see.
It's
that
low,
this
it's
is much
lower than the last
correct?
report.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Good.
Yeah. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, at the last report, we are looking for a new program, social emotional learning program for grades 3 to 6 next year that has a stronger component on looking at cyberbullying and bullying prevention. So that's a curriculum review that will be going on next year for grades 3 to 6. As I mentioned, to try to address some of the increase that we've seen at those grade levels. Any questions?
Nope, thank you.
That's all I have for tonight.
All right, so moving on to committee, King Philip will anxiously await Paul's first report in the fall.
Sit tight.
I did have one thing to actually share with the committee
Oh.
as far as King Philip. We have been working with that joint steering committee, the Special Education Joint Steering Committee. We've made some really strong progress. I should have another update with the committee, but one of the subgroups was looking at social emotional programming and therapeutic programming K-12 to make sure that we could identify between the 3 districts, the 3 elementaries and the middle school, what we had in common and where we had gaps. That committee has recommendations and to try to address some of the gaps in programming. We've also scheduled a fall retreat for all 4 districts' special education administrators and team chairs that'll be facilitated by an outside consultant scheduled for September 18th to work on some goals and collaborative planning. We're moving forward with that.
Do they have a new, King Philip, do they have a new director in
They're in
place?
the
or has that-
process of interviewing right now.
Okay, so
for
that's
that
not named,
position.
okay. Very good. All right, moving on to policy. Do we have anything going on there, or?
Update, or do you want to give the update?
Will you give the update?
I
And
will. I will
learn
give
from
the
your
update.
model. I need an exemplar,
Like color
please.
commentary?
I will do my best. So the sexual harassment policy will be presented for a first reading next month. Effectively, we're recommending that we adopt the mask policy, model policy, except that we would retain language for mandatory reporting of incidents to DSS, EEOC, and the department, Massachusetts Department for Discrimination. Other than that, the model language seems sufficient. And then bullying prevention, we will also do a reading. There will be no changes from last year's review, but we'll officially do the review in August. Anything else to add? No?
No.
All right,
Very
great,
good.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we had to circle back to the approving of the April 10th meeting minutes. I think you were
Yes.
getting,
We got a legal opinion, and the new committee members are able to vote to accept the minutes.
okay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the April 10th school committee meeting minutes?
I make a motion to accept the April 10th school committee minutes,
Okay.
meeting minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we need a motion to accept the meeting minutes from May 15th.
I'll make a motion to accept the May 15th minutes from the school committee meeting.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we do not have a meeting in July. Enjoy your summer. And then we'll meet again right before school begins on August 28th. Does that date work for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
That could be a challenge for me, but I'll do my best. It's our anniversary. That would be frowned upon, I think.
It's the day before mine.
Better way to spend it than with your school committee colleagues.
Right,
Did you run into this
exactly.
last year? Or your?
Mine's
Would
the
she
I
like
think-
to, would she like
yeah, I
to join
think my
us?
wife-
I mean, she can
Oh,
come.
what better place? Candlelight.
Yeah, we'll set up a sweetheart table. It'll be great.
Dim lighting.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that
Candy.
talk. Okay, so that should be work for everyone, August 28th?
Yep.
All right.
Just one question. Typically, for the last few years, we've had our facilities tour
Yes.
right before that meeting, but we can schedule that a different date if you'd like.
Is that during the day?
We usually do, it's not mandatory, we just do a walkthrough of the two buildings to talk about where we are and pending projects, and we have in the past done it right before the August meeting at like 6 o'clock
Oh,
for
okay.
anyone that's interested, and we post it as a,
Okay.
So no policy subcommittee meeting next time
we could,
in lieu of, or?
Meet afterwards.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
we could do the tour in lieu of the policy, because we
Fine.
have everything ready for the August meeting.
So not have one.
So, okay, so that one
Budget
comes
subcommittee
off.
does, by the way.
All right.
I could
yeah,
also,
we could
I
figure
could
it out.
also schedule it for Monday night. It doesn't matter.
I'd rather have it one night,
All in one.
honestly.
You would, okay.
I'd rather just do the tour and then go to the meeting.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like this budget, policy subcommittee, I mean, I don't know if you guys would have a need to meet anyway.
There were two that you wanted to bring forward that you mentioned that
We're
we
ready
haven't
for
yet
the
read.
ones that we're bringing forward for August, so we
Yep.
could wait on the discussion of the other two until September. and
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
Should we expect to have the September meeting second Tuesday of September? So just,
Typically,
Really just 2 weeks after the August meeting.
yeah, the August meeting is usually brief. It's usually an update on where we are for staffing and the readiness for opening. And then we do the official meeting in September.
Just ease into the school year.
Actually, that's the first day of school as well, right?
Is it?
All right, is that it? Okay,
Great.
we're adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.